First of all, thank you for asking directly about mental health. It is something that we are starting to talk more about. We don't talk about nearly enough, and so I am very grateful that you're asking me about that. The truthful answer is that it has been extraordinarily challenging to, in the early part of my life, figure out how to carry everything and how to manage everything. And so at a certain point, it took me to the lowest place that one goes, right? Because why would I want to stay in a world that didn't want me? And I knew in that moment I had a choice that I had to make, and I was in my early 20s when I made it, and I decided to go to therapy. And I've been in therapy for 30 years. And I don't mean once every 6 months. I mean weekly therapy for 30 years of my life to get help because I needed it to figure out how to metabolize all of the hate, which is an abuse of the spirit, right? Hate is an abuse of the spirit. And I needed help figuring out how not only to metabolize that, but not to carry it with me. Because I knew that if I carried it with me, it would be the equivalent of me wearing an overcoat and continuing to put stones in the overcoat. Eventually, it drags you down, like you can't move anymore. And I didn't want that for myself. I am a God person, and so I will often speak about being grateful and blessings and prayer. I don't believe that God made me or anybody else to be miserable and to be abused and to be hated simply because we exist. God made me to thrive and to be happy and to have joy and every wonderful thing. And so the first thing that I would say is that getting help when you need help is important. It is critically important. And for some people that means going to therapy. For some people it means turning to a counselor. For some people it means turning to clergy. I also am very fortunate that I grew up in a home that was a profoundly safe place for me. My mother is my safest place and has been from the moment she put her arms around me. And so to be able to speak, to know who your safe places are. Because a lot of this is really uncomfortable, right? There's a reason why nobody wants to talk about it. It's because it's uncomfortable. I know that I am telling you stories that are hard for you to hear. It's hard for me to say. But if we don't voice our pain, our fear, our frustration, people will never acknowledge that it's there. And so learning how to say, this hurts, I'm scared, I don't feel safe, that has been a lifelong lesson for me. And I will continue to learn it my whole life. I was saying earlier, in my 50s, I have learned how to say no. And guess what? It's fabulous.